Good morning. I'm Tabitha Hassell with Tabs on Tap. Hope all of you patriots are doing really wonderful this morning. Today's the day Kash Patel, hopefully, voted in by the Senate, at least for the acting FBI director. Can't wait. I know a lot of FBI friends can't wait as well. Quite exciting day for us. I think it'll work out. I know a lot of people are like, nah, I don't know, but no, we'll do it. We'll get it done, no question about it. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic morning. I hope you're warm. It is really cold outside. It's really cold. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to let the chickens out until a little bit later. I'm going to let them enjoy the warmth while they can. I don't know what it's like at your house, but I have probably about 2 inches of snow outside. Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Glesna in Michigan. Good morning, Linda. Hopefully, you guys are doing great this morning. Lots to talk about as usual today. I was listening to an interesting article or reading an interesting article yesterday, and it was talking about the shock and awe of the Trump campaign and how, and I feel it, so I understand. They were talking about how it's the shock and awe campaign against the media and how every day the media is just completely stumped because there's just so much to talk about. You really don't even know where to start or where to end, and we could spend an entire show just talking about all the fraud that's being uncovered by the Doge team. And then when I read that article, I'm like, gosh, that's exactly right. I try to come on here and kind of explain that each day, and I just can't put it into the right words. And there's just so much going on. Good morning, Tammy Jerry Hoover. There's so much going on that you really just don't know where to start. It's good. It's all good. It's all mostly good. And so, every day it's just like, gosh, what's coming next? What's coming next? Well, we're going to talk about what's coming next because there's a lot that's coming next. There's a lot every day, brings new things, mostly good, some not necessarily so great. Lots to talk about today. We're obviously Kash Patel today. He is going to be receiving his Senate vote confirmation for FBI director. I can't, another fantastic move by Donald Trump, Kash Patel. Who could say no to Kash Patel? I mean, he brought us 2,000 mules. What a great guy. And I think that the people I know within the FBI organization, who are of course, field agents and so on, people who are on these different multi-agency task forces, they're the people who are going out and serving the warrants and dealing with the violent crime on the street. They're the people putting their lives, on the line every day. And the people I know are absolutely ecstatic. They're absolutely ecstatic over Kash Patel. They've had their hands tied for so long that they're, I think they're really wondering, was this ever going to end? Was there ever going to be another time when they could actually go out and do their jobs? So many of these men and women, they got into the business of law enforcement because they wanted to fight violent crime. They wanted to take the violent criminals off of the streets, and they, for the longest time, haven't been able to do that. So can't wait to see Kash Patel in the position of FBI director. I think it's going to change everything. It's going to restore the faith in America we have, for the FBI, the leadership at the top. And Democrats, I don't know so much if they're going to feel it like we do. But hey, we've had to deal with a lot of people over in the FBI in our time, haven't we? So we get it. We understand. Nobody could be worse than old Comey. So we've got a long way to go. Some good stuff ahead. AOC versus Pelosi. We'll get into that. Elon Musk's, he's asking, where's the gold? Just like the rest of us. We want to know, where's the gold? Where's Doge going next? There's a couple of different places that have been identified as his next targets. Maybe Fort Knox. We'll see. We'll see. And does Fort Knox even exist anymore? We call it Fort Knox. Does it even matter anymore? From what I heard, that even if there were still gold in the United States, it's not at Fort Knox. So we'll talk about that. Obviously, I want to, I'm going to show you guys a video. You've probably already seen it, of the Delta crash in Toronto yesterday. What in the world is happening? What's happening? You couldn't pay me right now to get on a flight. I am not flying anywhere, nowhere. Nope, not a chance. Something strange is going on, whether people think so or not. And I know people are going to jump on here and say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, like that one guy did that day, who I immediately blocked after the show. And no, I'm not a pilot. I've never worked for the FAA. I don't know anything about air traffic controlling, none of these things. What I do know is that this is more than just a situation where the media is covering more crashes. It has to be more than that. Good morning, Phyllis. Hope you're doing well this morning. And we're going to talk about Kristi Noem giving a very stark warning to people who may consider entering our border illegally. Governor Gavin Newsom, there's a new sheriff in town. We're going to talk about that. Lots going on. We've been talking on this show a lot about Mexico. Are we planning to send troops over to Mexico? Are we going to conduct airstrikes against the cartels in Mexico? So we're going to get into special operations, special forces heading over into Mexico to do some training. But I think there's a lot more to it than that. Hopefully, Colonel Joe Adams will be joining us tomorrow and can weigh in on that. We're going to talk about Lindsey Graham and that guy, that warmonger. Let's just send him. How about we send him? He'll take care of all of it for us. Soros and his buddies on the run, heading to Brussels. We'll get into that. We'll jump a little bit into Ukraine. Obviously, going to be a big topic of conversation with Ukraine. Are we working out a peace deal? How does this look for us? And I've got a lot to talk about with that. Not a lot of time I'll spend on it, but a lot to say, because I think Trump is doing what we've historically done. Trump's a smart man, so he's a very smart man. So I think he's got a plan. But some news that I heard this morning that one other thing we'll touch base on is Hamas. Because remember, Trump gave that very big warning to Hamas that, hey, Hamas, if you don't turn over all the hostages by noon on Saturday, there's going to be hell to pay. Well, what exactly was that hell that was paid? So we'll talk about that. Good morning, Jay. Jay says, we have sent military personnel into Mexico and South America for decades. Yes, Jay, but this is different. This is very different. And we will certainly get into that. And I'm going to show you a little video, too, of our special operations forces that are heading into Mexico. We'll talk about that and how it probably means so much more than what we think it does. Good morning, Sherry. And, this morning I woke up and one of the first news stories I saw was pretty heartbreaking. If you're in the St. Louis area, been to the St. Louis area, you know what the Galleria Mall is. And this morning, as soon as I woke up, these messages pop up on my phone. And the first thing I saw was that a person, a female, had intentionally jumped from the parking garage at the St. Louis Galleria. And, obviously I've got to be careful with the words. And I don't like the word unalive because I feel like it's so disrespectful. But if you say any other word, you'll be banned on social media. And for anyone who knows me personally, it's on my social media page, you'll see that yesterday I posted that Facebook gave me a warning. And they said that they were, censoring my content because of the dangerous message that I'm sending, which where is this happening? Where is this danger I'm promoting? It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And yesterday I saw that in my news feed, it tells you, that your posts have increased in people seeing them. I was down like 92%. So it's going to be a situation where pretty much no one is going to see my posts. And so much for Zuckerberg being on our side and stopping the censorship. But we have to be very careful whether we want to or not with the words we use. And I don't like the word unalive. I feel like it's disrespectful. So there was a person, a female, who attempted to unalive herself. And man, I hate saying that term because it's not what I would like to say. I'd like to term things in other ways. But she jumped from the fourth floor of the parking garage in this attempt. From what I understand, it was a successful attempt. And, it's really just heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And of course, people want to jump on the comment line and the article I was reading saying, oh, this is Trump's fault. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because people are so upset with Trump being president that they have no choice but to take their own lives. No choice, and we're going to see more of this happening because of Trump and the oppression and everything that we're going to see under Donald Trump. And I'll tell you what, if we made it through 4 years of Biden and I didn't unalive myself, I think that people are going to be okay. I think they're going to be okay. And I understand and I don't know that I highly doubt that this situation that took place at the Galleria had anything to do with politics. I would almost bet my life has nothing to do with politics. But I'll tell you, when I was sitting back and I was thinking about Kamala Harris being our president for 4 years, I would have never, considered unaliving myself. I'm probably the opposite of that. I'm always overly optimistic, even in times when I probably shouldn't be. But the thought of her, listening to her voice all the time, was pretty difficult for me to fathom, quite honestly. And I get it. People are upset because Donald Trump is now their president, and they have to listen to his voice. They have to see his face. I totally get it, because that's how I felt about Kamala Harris. But at the same time, you know what? You'll get through it, for anyone who's upset about Donald Trump. Trust me, you will get through it. And Jay says, some of the rules are stupid because Facebook does the same. In my hobby is you use the actual word for gardening tool. Oh, used to work the soil. Good morning, Allison. Good morning, Rob. And Linda, so sad, but lies are upsetting people. And it was probably another reason. Good morning, Karen. I am sure that it was. I'm sure that it was another reason. And Scott says, special ops going into Mexico. That's something Colonel Adams could comment on. Yes. And as far as I am still aware, Colonel Joe Adams is joining us tomorrow, the Washington Guard. And I am sure that we will talk about what's going on, because I think he would agree with me that there's a face of something and then there's what's really going on behind the scenes. And we'll be jumping into that soon. This is a time where there are a lot of people who are very depressed. There's no question about it. Very depressed. And there's a lot of things for people to be depressed about. I know a lot of people and have known a lot of people in my lifetime that have been very depressed over different things. Now, I've got to be careful what I say here, because, there are different types of depression, and I had a friend who suffers from very severe depression. And, it's hard for me to relate. I will easily admit it's very hard for me to relate. I have never been depressed before. I'm not saying I've never been in a bad mood, but I've never gone through a state of depression. I was really sad, when my brothers passed away, each, of course, individually. And I was sad when my grandparents passed away. And, I've had friends that passed away, and sad, certainly feel the loss all the time. That never ends. But I can't say I've ever felt depressed. For whatever reason, I wake up in the morning and I just think today is going to be a really good day. It might be a hard day, but it's going to be a good day. And so I'm always overly optimistic. Even when faced with some very serious, situations, I'm still always optimistic. And that might be a mental disorder in itself. But I've never been depressed. So it's been hard for me to relate to people who do get depressed. And I had a friend who seriously suffered from depression, and to the point where she couldn't, go to work. She couldn't get out of bed. She wouldn't eat. Her mother, it was so bad. She had to live with her family, and her family, would have to come in and get her up and put her in the shower. And it was debilitating depression, debilitating. And now I feel like we're going through a time where more people are suffering with different types of mental health issues than maybe ever before. It's not Donald Trump's fault. Maybe for some people it is, but this is not about politics. People are facing there's people who are just born with, some people call it a chemical imbalance, where they're just clinically depressed. It's just part of them. It's part of their nature. It's part of their makeup. Some people have to take medication for it. And I totally understand that. And it was difficult for me, dealing with my friend at that time. And we don't really talk a lot anymore, because I was always like, well, let's go do something. Yes, you're going through this bad time, get dressed and come with me. We'll go hang out and go. But when you're depressed, that's the last thing you want to do, is get up and get dressed and go hang out with someone, and that's hard for me to understand, I guess, because to me, getting up and getting out is kind of fixes everything, being around other people or doing whatever you're going to do. But it's a difficult time for a lot of people right now. And, people are going through tough times financially. Food prices have really hit people hard. Interest rates have hit people hard. There are a lot of people in our country who are really struggling right now with a lot of different things. And I think when we see people out in our everyday life, I think we have to try to do our best to reach out and say, hey, how are you doing? Not just how are you doing today, how are you really doing? And I think we probably all know who those people are, where you might think they're struggling a little bit. You don't really know, but you just kind of get that feeling. Or maybe it's somebody who is happy all the time and you would never know. I think we have to start diving a little bit deeper into the people we come across and people in our families or in our circles, and maybe even people on the outer edges of our circles, and just say, hey, how are you doing, and try to talk to people a little bit. I don't know that it helps, but hearing these stories about people unaliving themselves is just absolutely heartbreaking to me. Absolutely heartbreaking to me, and it happens. You hear these stories all the time. I hear them not daily, but at least weekly. People on bridges or train trestles or highways, and I'm thinking, my gosh, all of these different situations and the things that people are dealing with every day. It's incomprehensible, I think, to most of us. So I just wanted to say, reach out to the people even if they seem perfectly fine, because you just don't know. You might save someone's life, quite honestly. I don't know who this woman was at the St. Louis Galleria who allegedly has lost her life. I haven't confirmed that, but that's what I'm hearing, is that she did pass away. And you could seriously save someone's life. You could make a big impact on someone's life by just talking to them and asking them how they're doing, for being there for that person. And good morning, Dottie. Good morning, Annette and Allison. How can you not be happy when in 4 weeks Doge has saved us $103 billion so far? If it were all about politics, you're absolutely right, Allison. There's, a lot to be happy about, a lot to be happy about. That's for sure. And, I just wanted to kind of throw that little thing in there this morning after reading that story. And again, there's a lot going on. I'm like, where do I even start? Because there's just so much happening, so much happening. And we talked about Kash Patel already. Can't wait to see where things are going with him. Christine Noem, and she gave a pretty serious speech to anyone who might think about coming into our country illegally. If you're coming to this country illegally, I'm going to play her little video. She can tell you for herself. Think twice, because guess what? There's no more catch and release. Catch and release is over. It's over. If you come across our border illegally, and it doesn't matter which border, we have a contiguous border across our country, whether it be by land or sea. If you enter into our country illegally, guess what? You're going to be deported. You're going to potentially be imprisoned, and you will never come back. That's the message. So you can hear it from the pretty lady herself.
The United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump, for securing our border and putting America first. Let me deliver a message from President Trump to the world. If you are considering entering America illegally, don't even think about it. Let me be clear. If you come to our country and you break our laws, we will hunt you down. Criminals are not welcome in the United States. For too long, weak leadership has left our borders wide open, flooding our communities with drugs, human trafficking, and violent criminals. Well, those days are over. Under President Trump, we are defending American families and restoring their safety. If you try to enter illegally, you will be caught, you will be removed, and you will never return. Follow the law, and you'll find opportunity. If you break it, you'll find consequences. Strong borders mean a stronger America. President Trump is making America safe.
That's exactly what we need. We need tough leadership. We need tough leadership. We need strong leadership. We need someone to come in and say, hey, enough, enough. 30 million people entered this country illegally under Joe Biden's term. Can you imagine that? I had no idea the numbers were that high. Under Joe Biden, in those 4 years, 30 million people entered our country illegally. How many entered that we don't even know about? I mean, seriously, my brain can't even wrap around that. 30 million people coming into our country illegally. It's just unbelievable to me. I just don't understand how we allowed this to happen. And you can't tell me that it was by mistake. This happened on purpose. Joe Biden, his administration, and of course the powers that be that really run the state, they allowed these people to come in. They enticed them to come in. They paid them to come into our country illegally. And I feel bad really for some of these people. And I'm trying not to be one of those bleeding heart people that feel so bad for someone that I'm okay with it, because we cannot be okay with it. I feel terrible saying that, but we cannot be okay with it. Yesterday, I watched a video, and quite honestly, it was heartbreaking. It was a video of ICE conducting a raid at someone's home, which probably means they were a criminal, had some type of criminal history. So we always have to remember that when we see these raids, that somebody in that address has some type of criminal history, or they wouldn't be there at this phase of things. They would not be there. And this man came home from work, and ICE was there. They took him out of his truck, not forcefully, but they did take him out of his truck. ID'd him, made the proper identification, put him in handcuffs. And you know what? When that happens, you don't get to go in your home and collect your things. You don't get to go in and spend time with your children or your family. You are handcuffed, you are placed into a vehicle, and you leave, and you never come back. And yes, it's difficult to see, and I feel really bad about some of it. And Allison says, I have no sympathy if you came here illegally. And you're Allison, I know you're so right. And it's so hard for me to see some of these things. But yes, that's how we have to be. We have to be tough, even when we don't want to be. And I know I work in security, and part of our deterrence is that we have to act really mean. I'm not a mean person, but when I'm working, I have to put on, a different personality, because you have to be assertive. And I wouldn't say mean, but you have to be, if you're overly friendly when you work in any type of law enforcement position, then people will think they can get by with something. They'll think that they can take advantage of you. So, you have to act a certain way. And so, and it's the same thing with this situation. I hate it for people, but at the same time, we have to be strong, and we have to stand against people entering our country illegally. And Jay says the biggest reason would be the census, which is how they draw congressional districts, which would potentially favor Democrats. Jay, you have that 100% correct, because that's exactly what's happening. If you saw a little bit of I'm not going to play the video, but yesterday I saw a video of Arizona, some folks over in Arizona arguing that they should be able to count people who are here illegally as part of their congressional district. So that's exactly what it's about. And if you recall, in 2020, Arizona, they had that federal only ballot in which even though somebody here illegally could not vote in a local election, they could vote legally in a federal election. And they had over 250,000 votes of illegals who, of course, voted against Donald Trump in the 2020 election. And I think that it had a big deal with what direction Arizona went. And if you look at the law, an amendment that talks about these loopholes, like a federal only ballot, it's not supposed to work that way. And, there are a lot of states that have federal only ballots. It is legal, and you can vote. If you're not a citizen of the United States, if you're here illegally, you can vote in some states on a federal only ballot. And that means some states feel that even though you're not here legally, you still live here, you still have a say over who the president is of our country, which is wrong. And so some of these states that have these federal only ballots, it's like a loophole. But what's supposed to happen is that people can cast their vote. But if the illegal vote is what makes the difference and is what gets the win for one candidate over the other, the state is supposed to go back and retract all of those federal only ballots. And Arizona didn't do that. And so in Arizona, it did tip the scales, and they were supposed to go back and take all of those ballots off the record and not count them. And they didn't do that. And so, and then they don't want to do it. They want to continue counting these votes, but pretty soon there won't be any votes left to count. There will no longer be anyone to vote on a federal only ballot, and as I was saying, I saw this video yesterday of this man who had arrived from work. ICE was at his house, and they had him handcuffed. They were getting ready to put him in their truck. And his wife was just, of course, extremely distraught because here her husband's being taken away. She passes out, and of course, total anguish, I'm sure, to see her husband. And of course, the neighbors are like, oh, he's such a hardworking man. He's just coming home from work. He's a good person. Doesn't get in any kind of trouble. And he just works all the time and blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, I get it. That's a lot of people, but you're still here in the country illegally. You're still not supposed to be here. You crossed into our country illegally, and that makes you a criminal. And if you're raiding your house right now, you're probably a criminal on another level as well. And I hate to see it. It's heartbreaking. But you know what? It has to be done. And we're going to have more of that. No question about it. We're going to see more. And we're going to see heartbreaking videos. And we just have to stand tall and say, you know what? It's heartbreaking, yes. But you entered our country illegally. And unfortunately, you have to go. You have to do things the right way. And, they're going to be ramping up some promotional videos, a lot like what we just saw of Christy Noem. And they're going to be talking about people self deporting. So you're probably going to see a lot of these videos coming out soon. It's a new campaign that they're going to try to attempt to get people to self deport. That video was telling people, don't come into the country, don't come in illegally. If you do, you'll have to leave. You'll never be able to come back. Now, the new campaign that's going to start is going to be a series of videos similar to that with Christy Noem. But in this next series of videos, they're going to be saying, hey, if you're already here in the country and you're here illegally, you need to self deport, because when we come to your home, now this is before they start phase two. Phase one is getting the criminals off the streets, getting those people deported. Phase two is whenever they start conducting raids on businesses, on different places where people may gather, and they're going to find people who are here in our country illegally who have not committed a crime potentially other than entering our country illegally, and those people are going to be deported. That's phase two, and people keep telling me that's never going to happen. It is going to happen. It absolutely 100% is going to happen. And so the Trump administration is going to spend a lot of money for this campaign, and they're going to tell people, hey, if you're here illegally, self-deport, because when we conduct these raids, if we come across you, they're going to be setting up checkpoints in different areas. If they come across somebody at a checkpoint, then those people are going to be deported. And again, they don't get to go home and see their family to say goodbye. They don't get to go home and gather their things. They have to leave. And if they don't have the documents in their pocket or on their phone to prove that they should be here, they don't get to go home and look for those documents. They're not getting a ticket like they did under the Biden or Obama administration, where they give you a ticket and then you get to go back home and then go to court. It doesn't work that way anymore. Therefore, they're going to be immediately deported. And if they catch one of these people at a checkpoint or during one of these raids, they will be banned from this country for at least 20 years. They will not be able to come back in. However, if they self-deport, they can go back across the border, go back to their home country, apply for asylum legally, and then hopefully we'll have some type of fast track program and process, and then they can come back. Hopefully it's just a temporary leave. They leave the country, they get their affairs in order, and then they come back and pick up where they left off. That's my hope for these people. And Allison says they are draining our resources, not to mention the crimes they are committing. Some are committing crimes. I do think there's a lot of really good people here, Hispanic, Latino people, again, largely conservative, Christians, hardworking people, they are largely good people. And I want them to be here. I love their culture. But we have to do things the right way. They have to come in here legally. And when I read that 30 million people entered our country illegally under Joe Biden, holy cow. I'm like, how can that even be possible? If you think, that's just a flood coming across our borders every single day. And that's exactly what it was, a flood coming across our borders. And then I read that all those unaccompanied minors, remember those? One time under Obama, back when I used to keep up more with the statistics, there were so much going on under the Biden administration. I didn't keep up with the numbers. But under Obama, I can remember looking at the numbers and seeing like 50,000 unaccompanied minors, entering our country every month or, back then. And it was absolutely insane. Well, now I'm reading that under the Joe Biden administration, all of these, hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied minors that entered our country. And then, of course, as you know, an unaccompanied minor is a child anywhere from, 17 years old or under. Some of them are as small as toddlers and babies that come into our country through coyotes or through other groups of people. They enter our country. They have no parent with them, sometimes no family member or relatives with them. They're just sent here alone, which is crazy, in my opinion. And we had 300 and something, almost 400,000 of these kids that were missing under the Biden administration. And We paid $20 billion for those unaccompanied minors. That's what your taxpayer, you as the taxpayer, that's what you paid. Almost $20 billion under Joe Biden for to take care of unaccompanied minors that crossed our borders. Now, of course, out of that almost 400,000 that are missing, a lot of those kids were with family. And what happened, and it happened under Trump too, just not to that degree, but it did happen under Trump. But it was more like 1,500 that we couldn't track down under Trump and his administration. Under Joe Biden, almost 400,000, because they didn't even try to track these kids down. ICE found what, 70,000 of them, like in the first 2 or 3 days, 70 or 80,000 of these kids. And what happens is they come across our border as unaccompanied minors. Now, a lot of them end up in trafficking situations. Don't think they don't. They 100% do. Some of them never make it across our border. We know that's true. And then the ones that do make it across our border safely, which it was getting to the point where fewer and fewer of them were coming across our border safely, because the cartels saw an opportunity there to sell. Cartels are about money, not about lives. They saw the opportunity to sell these children and to sex traffic these children or organ harvest these children. And it's highly unfortunate. Then they come into this country, the ones who do make it safely, they're handed off to family members who are also here illegally, and then they disappear. So then they're unaccounted for, because we just have no idea where the entire family is. But most of these children are okay. Most of them are okay. And Mary says, I wonder how the hospitals in Colorado are doing, if they're doing any better with less illegals there. Mary, good morning, Mary. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. I don't know. And, but we're going to see things are going to ramp up, and people are going to have a hard time dealing with it when they do ramp up. Lots of things, though, we're certainly going to be dealing with, and lots of stuff going on. Before I get too far, I wanted to show you guys have probably already seen some of these videos. I hope I loaded it up. For some reason, there was a video I had this morning, and I bet I didn't. My videos were acting kind of crazy this morning. So some of them, oh no, here it is. I wanted to show you. You guys probably saw that Delta flight that crashed. It turned upside down in Toronto. I'm going to play a quick clip for that video. And this is just my message to you. And I know it's tough to think when you're in a death-defying situation and lucky to be alive. But if you make a viral video, please try not to say the F word every other sentence. I'm going to show this little bit of a clip to you. It's a much longer clip, but it's so FFFF word that I can't play the rest of it. And I'm already, half banned on Facebook. I don't want to be banned the rest of the way. But this situation here is crazy.
Everything, drop it. Come on. Don't take your video.
So that's just a shorter
Everything,
clip.
drop
I'm going to play that again.
Come on.
So you can see a little bit better.
Don't take your video. Step on the right.
No. Holy.
Isn't that insane? I mean, that was a Delta flight flying into Toronto yesterday that crashed, turned over completely upside down. 18 injuries. I cannot believe there were no deaths in this flight. I still haven't heard yet exactly what happened, what caused this to happen, but that airplane was completely upside down. Unbelievable. I know that a lot of you are going to say that there's nothing going on. Everything's just normal. The media is just covering these crashes more. I have a hard time believing that, quite honestly. I think there is something going on. What that something is, I just don't know. I don't know. But how is it that every day, every other day, we're hearing about a new crash? Now, some of these smaller planes, yes, they do crash. There's so many, planes in the sky at any given time. Of course, the number of crashes is very minimal. And these smaller planes, you do hear of a lot of crashes. That I think is fairly normal. But these larger planes, I mean, something is just not right here. What is going on? Am I the only person who thinks this is strange? Why all of a sudden are we having all of these different types of crashes? And if you saw that video, and there is a longer video that I can't play, but if you saw, and got a good look at that, the interior of the plane, upside down, thank God these people were in their seatbelts already, because of course they were, I believe they were approaching their landing. So if it weren't for the fact all these people in their seatbelts, there were a lot of people who probably would not have survived this, because the interior of the cabin was just completely smashed in some places. You could see where it had come down and the seats folded together. And if there had been people who were walking around or were not seatbelted, there's no question they would have been stuck right in between there. It is absolutely amazing. Margie says the Delta went belly up. Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know if Margie, if you've seen the longer video, and thank God for these people that they survived. I mean, thank God they survived, because I can't even imagine what that would be like. And I have friends that have planes, and who have worked in different industries with airports and so on. And a lot of times they take this stuff pretty lightly. They'll say, "Oh, there's not really anything going on. It's just normal." But to me, I don't see how you could say this is normal. And then, of course, everyone wants to blame it on Donald Trump. Oh, Mary, I was just getting to that. Mary says, and we're laying off FAA workers. I don't get that. Well, a lot of it, Mary, is some of it's going to AI, believe it or not. A lot of air traffic controller jobs are going to AI. That would have happened without Donald Trump. That has nothing to do with him. Donald Trump doesn't run, the FAA, of course. And, yes, they're going to be doing audits and have done some audits and things like that. But, there's a lot of industries, whether it's the FAA or the FBI or the EPA, the SSA, a lot of these different organizations have employees that they just don't need. Things have changed, and people get jobs in these different branches and they think they're lifetime jobs. They stay there forever. And I understand they get good benefits. They can miss a lot of days, do a lot of dumb things, not do a whole lot of work, and still keep their job. So it's like the ideal job for a lot of people to have. And I don't think getting rid of FAA employees or air traffic controllers going to AI eventually, that has not even happened yet. I don't think that that has anything to do with these crashes. And again, people will tell me I have no idea what I'm talking about, and they would probably be right, because I do not work in I do not work in, of course, any airline capacity. So I don't know. I'm just saying what I see, and things don't seem right. And Allison said some were DEI hires and not qualified. Yeah, there were some people laid off who they claim, when they were doing these audits, that were hired based upon, their sexual identity or the color of their skin or their gender, that shouldn't have gotten the job because they were not the most qualified applicants. And some of those people, are, from what I understand, on administrative leave right now. Some have been completely fired. And we'll see. We're going to see a lot of these audits continue, and a lot of different firings in different departments, and we'll see what happens. I know the Social Security Administration, their commissioner, Michelle King, I saw that she has stepped down, because guess what? When Doge went through the Social Security Administration, and I have not seen any evidence that this is debunked. We talked about this yesterday, where we were talking about all the millions of people who are allegedly over the age of 112 up to 200 years old who are getting paid by the Social Security Administration. And Democrats that I know said, oh, that's been debunked. That's not true. The Social Security Administration uses some kind of cabal system or some cobalt system or something like that. And that's what makes it look like there's people in there that are 200 years old. I looked and researched all I could last night. I do not see anywhere where that has been debunked. Nowhere. In fact, I not only do I not see that it's been debunked, but now we have their head person of the Social Security Administration, Michelle King, resigning. She's been replaced already with somebody just in the interim. And then Donald Trump, of course, has a nomination, which would have probably eventually replaced her anyway. And Margie says, where has Pete been the past years? Which Pete are you speaking of? And so, Pete Buttigieg. I never can say that. Buttigieg, or whatever his name is. He's been absent. That's where he's been. He's been absent. Yeah, let's blame it on him, because he hasn't done a darn thing now, has he? Well, in the Social Security Administration, Doge has uncovered so much fraud. It's not just the fraud of these millions of people who are still allegedly receiving benefits up until the age of 210. But now they've uncovered, and this will probably blow your mind if it hasn't already, is that they've uncovered that there are criminal gangs in other countries who are using fake identities to steal Social Security money, and that we have spent billions, possibly trillions, in sending out payments to people who don't even live in the United States, who are part of these criminal organizations who have no other goal other than to commit fraud in the United States. And I'll tell you what, we here in the United States, we've been taken. We've been taken to the cleaners, by theft and by fraud. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. But how could you blame the criminal groups in other countries? You might be sitting over in Nigeria, part of one of these criminal gangs, and you're sitting behind a computer making up, American identities all day, trying to steal Social Security payments. And there's no one there in the Social Security Administration to say, hey, this isn't right. How about we audit our systems and find out how much fraud, there is? No. And then all of a sudden they want to extend the age of when you can retire because they don't have the money to pay people. You, the hardworking American who have worked to contribute to the Social Security Administration, to those funds, so that later on those payments can come back to you. They're saying, oh, we might not have any money left by the time you reach retirement age, or you might not receive as much money. Oh, yes, you're an elderly person, and maybe you've worked a small job your whole life, and here, we'll give you $600 a month for Social Security. Good luck, living on that. But in the meantime, we have these 30 people in Nigeria sitting in an office building, bringing in millions of dollars through the Social Security Administration. And then we have idiots like these people, if I can find, did I load this video up? Yep, I did. We have idiots like these people who somehow disagree.
Go for Mexico! 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 Go for Mexico!
We have these idiots in Washington, D.C. protesting against Donald Trump and the Department of DOGE. All of these people who somehow, one, don't believe any of this is true. They don't believe any of it's true. There are people out there who think it's all lies and that the Department of DOGE just doesn't know what they're doing. I've seen people posting these posts lately, like these kids in the Department of DOGE, they're just children. They don't know what they're doing. Elon Musk is a child. He doesn't know what he's doing. He has no idea how to audit. That's not what he does. These kids, they don't know what they're doing. I'm gonna highlight one of these kids here in just a moment, Luke Ferreter, so you can get a better idea of exactly who DOGE is. And I'll tell you what, how are all of these people protesting against DOGE audits? We're paying people in other countries potentially billions to trillions of dollars of your Social Security fund. The American government is telling you, you have to extend your retirement age. You might have to work the rest of your life, in fact, and that money's going to run out. So guess what? Even though you've contributed to it your entire life, there's no more money left for you. But yet these folks over here in this other country, we're giving them millions of dollars. We have no system of checks and balances to find out how much fraud, we're uncovering. And then we find out $4.7 trillion in government spending is completely untraceable. There's $4.7 trillion that have been spent, and we haven't even made it all the way through the audits yet. So far through the audits, the Department of Government Efficiency has found $4.7 trillion gone. They show it on the books. They show it going out. We funded the money, but where did it go? I'm going to guess it went into the pockets of Congress is where a lot of it went. I'll bet a lot of it went to the lobbyists. I bet a lot of it went to these different corporations. I bet a lot of it went to George Soros, who is on the run to Brussels, by the way. And good morning, Denise. And Margie says, I'm tired, boss. Let's all retire. Good morning, William, Mr. Bill Robinson. bunch of Karens. Yeah. How could anyone protest the fraud that's being uncovered? I don't understand. And then they want to say, and people, man, they hate Elon Musk, like I said yesterday, more than they hate Donald Trump. They hate that man. They hate that man. I bet they're not going to be hating them when they get their money back. And by the way, if you have not filed your taxes, make sure you file those taxes. Even if you're one of those people where you don't even get money back, or you don't even have to file a tax. Maybe you're not even working and you're like, why would I file taxes? I'm not going to get anything back and I'm not going to have to pay. So I just won't file. You can still file taxes, even if you don't work, even if you have, no money to gain, nothing to gain from filing taxes, you can still file your taxes. Because I'll tell you what, I do think a payment is coming your way. I really do. And when that payment comes your way, because, this money is yours. That $4.7 trillion that's missing, that's yours. This money that has gone from the Social Security Administration over to these foreign countries, that money was your money. And all of this money that Doge is saving, like as Allison said earlier, $103 billion now, eventually that's going to be in the quadrillions. That money is your money. That $103 billion that Elon Musk has found through the Department of Doge, that's your money. And I do think that Donald Trump is going, I'm not saying he needs to feel pressure to do this, but, more and more people are talking about what's coming back to the people. That was your money that was stolen from you. And so then you got to think about, okay, well, if they're going to give me money back, how are they going to do that? Let's say you have a person over here who has never paid a tax dollar in their life. And so none of that money should come to them because they've never paid taxes, right? So is it going to be a system like that where the more taxes you've paid in, the more you'll receive back? Or is it going to come in the form of payments like you received during COVID times, where they just said, okay, we're going to send, $3,000 to every American? I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't. But I do think payments are coming. I don't know when, but I think payments are coming in. I think it'll be sooner rather than later. So expect that to happen. Once they get these audits done and they know how much money has really been fraudulently spent, they know how much money we're going to save. I know they're going to do a lot of different things. One would, of course, be potentially abolishing the IRS, taking away income tax. There's a lot of taxes that are going to disappear. There's a lot of talk that there's just going to be a flat 14% tax and straight across the board. And that's it. Anything you buy, there's a 14% tax and there's no income tax, no, it's up to the state about personal property tax, but some of these states are doing away, or I should say some counties, not states, but some counties are doing away with personal property tax. That could potentially happen. And Mary says you doubt it. Do you mean, Mary, that you'll get money back? I think you'll get some money back. I think everyone will. And then what are Democrats going to say? Are they going to give their checks back? All these people out protesting who hate Elon Musk and who hate Doge, are they going to give all that money back and say, oh, government, I don't want it. You uncovered this money that really should have gone to the children to feed them rice and beans and put, tents up for poor people. And now I'm going to take this money back. No, take it back, government. No, that's probably not going to happen. Allison says a federal judge thinks he can keep the Treasury Secretary from seeing what payments are being sent out. He needs to be investigated. Well, Allison, for that particular judge, there have already been impeachment papers drawn up, and another judge has come forward and has issued a memorandum so that the Department of Doge can at least go through the IRS unimpeded. They can see every file within the IRS. Nothing will be sacred within the IRS. And the same for the SEC. Elon Musk and the Department of Doge, they're going after the SEC next, the Securities Exchange. That's going to happen next. What are we going to find there, right? That's when we're going to find out about insider trading, aren't we? Look at Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, $38 million in stock. He moved around during the time, or purchased during the time of, right up the couple weeks, just up to Trump's inauguration, $38 million in stock trading. What was he doing? What did he know? I think we all know. And we're going to find out a lot about a lot of things. Jay says, be careful because a sudden influx of tax money will have a negative impact on our inflation. I don't know, Jay. I don't know what that would look like. And that's something we definitely should talk about, is what would that look like? Good morning, Suzanne, my good friend Suzanne. And, Allison says, what about the Treasury Department? eventually Doge is going to be able to access every part of the Treasury Department. All of these judges who have issued these orders will probably be impeached. All of them have impeachment filings that are being placed. And there are other judges who are coming out against these judges who have stopped Trump's order for the Department of Doge to go through their records. And I think what's probably going to end up happening is they're going to go back to the Constitution, and they're going to say the Constitution never stated that one federal judge should make a ruling that counts for the entire country, for all other judges, that one judge is above all the other judges. And so I think that they're going to rule that it's unconstitutional, and a lot of these judges are going to be impeached, and the Department of Doge is going to be able to continue where it left off. And, I think I read yesterday, 163 members of Congress are going to be audited. I think 150 of them are Democrats, are up for audit because they saw irregularities already within the IRS. There are already irregularities in Congress. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Oh, Margie says Pfizer. Yeah, Pfizer. Trust me, they'll be getting to Pfizer. No problem with that. And so some of these, 156 were Democrats, which is absolutely safe. And where that $4.7 trillion is that's missing, we'll never know. Like I said, it's probably in the pockets of George Soros, lobbyists, Congress. That money's been divided up so many times. So much of it probably went to the Biden family. And Obama, he's not. Obama is absolutely not. He is not immune to all of this. Don't think he's immune to this. And Robert says left, always judge shopping. Oh, always judge shopping. Jay says simple economics, regardless of the cash comes, it causes spending to increase. Therefore, demand goes up, and with it, prices follow suit. Well, you know what, Jay, we can afford higher prices if we're getting a big check back of our tax dollars that we didn't pay out, and we're not getting income tax. We abolish the IRS. Maybe we can afford to pay a little bit more money, like the farmer we saw yesterday in the video who said he'd have to charge $10 a gallon for milk if he didn't hire illegals, to work on his dairy farm. Maybe that's how we average things out. And Jay says, regardless, it won't happen anytime soon. There's a lot of different things that can happen in this country, and we're going to see how they all play out, good and bad. But I can promise you, Donald Trump is not going to do anything that's going to cause harm to the American people. And Mr. Parnell says, I wonder if they are going to reveal AIPAC is funding all of our politicians. Well, they're certainly funding a lot, and I'm sure that they are going to get to the bottom of that. There's no question about it. And, we know that a lot of these different members of Congress, they make money on war, don't they? And Lindsey Graham, in my opinion, he should really be watching himself right now. He should really be watching himself. All he talks about is war. And, I'm going to play a quick clip of him, and I want to go back to Doge for a second. But this guy, has he realized yet that he's not going to get any kickbacks from this war? He thinks that Donald Trump needs to order airstrikes on Iran. He has lost his mind. And I think if we do conduct airstrikes onto Iran, and let's say Lindsey Graham was at the forefront of this movement towards doing that, and this is not going to happen, by the way, he's crazy. I think we should put him into the town square, right in the middle of a big red target, and I'm not wishing any harm on Lindsey Graham because that would be wrong. But maybe he should feel the heat just a little bit, because he doesn't mind us being collateral damage. That's okay. Our sons and daughters who serve in the military, he's not worried about them at all. You know what he's worried about? He's worried about how much money he's going to get in kickbacks. I don't think anyone has told him yet that kickbacks are over. So let's take a look at Lindsey Graham here.
Is going to have to make a decision here very soon about the Iran nuclear program. There are two paths to take. A military path where we help Israel deliver a decisive blow against Iran's nuclear infrastructure. I prefer that path. The second path is to negotiate with Iran to try to get them to abandon their nuclear ambitions. If that path is chosen, it needs to be limited in time. We should put it on the clock, and we should define what success looks like.
Who is giving this guy airtime? Seriously. Who is, sorry, my video has stopped and my camera won't come back up, but I will get it here in just a minute. I don't know what is going on with my crazy computer. Sorry, I think my hands are just sticky. Nope. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm not here anymore, but there I am. Sorry about that. Sometimes weird things happen. But Lindsey Graham is a warmonger. I don't think anyone has told him that you're not going to get a kickback this time around. Yes, you have in the past. I can't wait until Lindsey Graham is audited. I absolutely cannot wait to see his tax return. I can't wait to see how much money he got for peddling to man Zelensky. Because as we know, Lindsey Graham has fought so hard and so angrily for us to fund all of this money over to Ukraine. And he is just going to be heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken, when all of that funding stops and he's not able to line his pockets with your tax dollars. And now, he's already thinking of another plan. Let's conduct airstrikes against Iran because I need a little bit more money in my slush fund, right? That's exactly what he's thinking. I cannot stand that guy. I can't stand him because I'll tell you, he does not care about you. He does not care about your children. He sees us all as little pawns and collateral damage. Let's go over and conduct some airstrikes in Iran and let's get in the middle of a war because Iran, let's remember, they're buddies with Russia and they're buddies with China and they're buddies with BRICS. So we would have a lot on our hands if we start a war with Iran. A lot on our hands, things that we don't need because you know what? I think we've got enough going on as it is in this country. Enough going on. So back to Doge. Doge is not going to let Lindsey Graham take 1 more cent of our money. Not a red cent. And guess what else he's going to do? And this is so beyond anything that I thought that Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, would get into. Next, guess where they're going next? They're going to the SEC, as we talked about. They might go to Fort Knox because Elon Musk is asking, just like we did yesterday, where's the gold? Let's audit Fort Knox. Let's find out where the gold is. Do we even have any gold in the United States? And then after we find out whether or not we have any gold, they're going after CPS. They're going to start auditing the Child Protection Services. And I can't wait for that to happen. I can't wait. And I'm sorry, I was raised Catholic and still technically Catholic, even though I don't attend a Catholic church. Man, we're going to see that Catholic Charities is going to be at the center of this mess with Child Protective Services. And the reason why I say that is because they have been so instrumental in bringing these unaccompanied minors over into the country and placing them in different homes. And, whether that's a group home or individual homes, they're right in the mix of things. And I hate that. And, but it is what it is. The Red Cross right in the middle of it. And when they start auditing the Child Protective Services, I think they're going to find out some information that we may never be able to move past. So many children that have lost their lives due to corruption within the system. And I have read the cases, and I'm sure you have too, where you've read the cases where a child was in a home, they should not have been there. CPS knew this child should not be in this home. Yet, for political reasons, they allowed them to stay because they didn't want to rock the boat. They didn't want to draw, attention to their agency. So they allowed the child stay there. And then later on, the child ends up in a very bad situation. And I can't wait till they see the money that has been spent at the children's expense within Child Protective Services. And I don't know, again, I don't know that we'll ever recover from what that investigation reveals to us. And you know what Democrats are going to say? I just showed you the video. They're all out protesting, thousands of people out protesting against all of these audits. They don't care about your tax money. They don't care about their own tax money. They don't care about these children. They don't care about what's happening. People crossing across our border illegally, Catholic Charities, the Red Cross being a big part of people coming into this country illegally. Democrats won't care. They won't even pay attention. Democrats, we know, people in our community, hopefully will start waking up. Hopefully, that's why we're here. That's why we talk about things. Hopefully they start waking up and they realize that maybe they're not Republicans, maybe they're not conservatives, but they're also not the same party that is responsible for so much fraud. And they're not the party that's there or wouldn't support the party that's responsible for harming these children. And we're gonna see a lot of information coming out. It's going to be crazy. And of course, what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, who is Doge? All these little kids. And I'll tell you what, the Department of Doge, and we've, touched on this before, the reason why Elon Musk chose the team that he did is because these kids, they're young people, they're not children, because they are far ahead of others their age. They're young people, they've got a lot of room for growth, and they're very intelligent. They all have a history of either starting and owning a company. Some of them have already sold their companies for a lot of money. And then we have Luke Ferreter. I'm going to show you a quick video clip of Luke Ferreter and why he is part of the Department of Doge. And Bill says, let's make clear, not all foster homes are bad. Oh, no, absolutely not. I spent 2 years in one as a kid that were great people. Bill, I did not know that about you. And you're absolutely correct. As a matter of fact, my next door neighbor is a foster home and they have 3 children and they seem like really great people. And I'm sure those kids are living a really good life. There are a lot of really good foster homes out there and a lot of people who are great foster parents who are doing it there for the right reasons. And it's just unfortunate that even one family, even if it's just one family in the foster care system that is doing things they shouldn't be doing, they need to be eliminated, But more than anything, I think what's going to be uncovered when they get into the Child Protective Services are situations where there are people taking money and making decisions based on politics and not the child's best interest. I think we're going to see more of that than anything else. But I want to, let's see here. Allison says, protesters are Antifa, BLM, and NGOs. Let's take a quick look here. I want you to know who Luke Ferreter is. Now, Luke Ferreter is one of the members of the Department of Doge, one of these young people, young men, who is sleeping overnight in these different part of these different audits. Why is he there? Why did Elon Musk choose him? And he's not just some guy that Elon Musk said, oh, here's some guy that's into crypto. Let's pick him because I think he's going to make good decisions. It's so much more than that.
This is Luke Ferreter, a 23-year-old kid from Nebraska working with Elon Musk and Doge to cut wasteful government spending. And last year, he was awarded $700,000 for deciphering an ancient scroll using AI. The scroll was damaged during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, and Luke, with a few classmates, used 3D scans and machine learning to virtually uncrumple the scroll and decipher it. This not only caught the attention of the AI community, but Peter Thiel, who awarded Luke $100,000 to become a Thiel Fellow, where young entrepreneurs are encouraged to pursue their passion like the Ethereum founder and Figma founder. But Luke's now been recruited to work at Doge, where the team's been sleeping in the office, crunching code, and working around the clock to identify waste, fraud, and abuse. And Doge has been under fire for their young age, with people saying they're not qualified. However, Elon seems to disagree, saying we need young guys with a fresh perspective to bring down the machine. And if this kid's smart enough to decipher ancient scrolls with AI, he might be able to crack the government spending problem. What do you think?
I think I agree. That's what I think. I think I agree. These are exceptional people that Elon Musk has chosen to be part of his Doge. Just because they're young, it doesn't really mean that they're not qualified or that they're not good enough to conduct these audits. It does not mean that. Yes, they have been trained. Yes, they are officially on the payroll. These are not just random people. They've all had to pass a security clearance. And, there's some Mary Tainter says Sheldon, I think I can't remember the name of that show, Mary, but I know exactly what you're talking about. That's exactly right. So, we're going to highlight some of the different members of Doge from time to time and talk about who exactly these young men and women are. Because I'll tell you what, these are the leaders of the future. Whether you see it now or not, these people will lead the future in different forms of technology and business. They absolutely will. These are these are going to be the next Zuckerbergs, the next Bezos. That's exactly why Elon Musk chose them, because he sees the future ahead of some of these young folks. And Mr. Pardo, they have no problem sending our 18-plus-year-old children to war. No, of course they don't have a problem with it. You can't do a lot of other things when you're 18, but you can certainly go and carry a weapon and fight in hand-to-hand combat, right? Which is going to be happening maybe soon enough in Mexico, because I'm going to show you a promotional video here. Because I'll tell you what, Mexico has paved the way for us, the United States, to send in special forces to train their military, their police officers, how to fight against the cartels. So that's how we're going to phrase it for now. But I think that there's going to be a lot more to this. I'm going to let you watch the training video very quickly because I'll tell you, we're in good hands. We are definitely in good hands.
Green.
Okay, so the U.S. Army's 7th Special Forces Group, they've been trained how to fight the cartels, and we didn't even know this was happening, did we? Happened, right under our noses. They've been trained to fight the cartels, and now they are heading into Mexico with Mexico's permission, and they're going to teach the Mexican Army how to fight the cartels. And I'll tell you that this isn't probably going to last very long. That's plan A. Plan A is for our military to train, the military in Mexico how to fight against the cartels, and we're going to leave it for now up to Mexico to gain control of these cartels. Now, we already know that's not going to work out. We already know that's not going to work out. We're going to give it a good effort, because we have to, because it's going to be pretty hard to justify airstrikes against cartel members across the border in Mexico. I can almost promise you that is going to happen. It will come to that. And it will come to probably some hand-to-hand combat as well on the other side of our southern border against some of these cartel members. We've mapped it out. We know where they are. I'm sure we've shared our intelligence with Mexico, but they don't need it. They already know where these cartel members are. The problem is, and I know you're with me on this, the Mexican government is so corrupt that, and I'm not saying necessarily their president, but the Mexican government, the Mexican police forces have been so infiltrated by the cartel, and that this is never going to work out. It will never work out. We can try, we can do our best, we can hope for the best, and we certainly don't want to lose any American lives. But our first plan A is going to be to send our special forces in, and hopefully, and I do believe Colonel Joe Adams, again with the Washington Guard, is joining us tomorrow. We'll rehash this a little bit tomorrow with his expertise involved, because that man knows exactly what's going on. But plan A is to send our special forces in, train the military in Mexico, try to combat the cartels in that way. Now, Donald Trump, in his mind, he says, you know what? He is not going to be happy as long as there's one cartel member standing. He is not going to be happy. We already know the Mexican government is not going to be able to control the cartels. They're just not going to be able to. They have tried in the past. It is not going to happen. Plan B is that, we're going to take care of it ourselves. We're going to give them a shot. We're going to let the Mexican government try to control the cartels. It is not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And when that doesn't happen, then we're going to take control ourselves. And Donald Trump, he will make sure there is no cartel member left standing. And I don't know what that looks like. I hope that Colonel Joe Adams can weigh on that with us, because we're there. We've been talking about this for weeks now, haven't we? We've been talking about this, since Donald Trump was inaugurated. What are we going to do about the cartels? And then Donald Trump, of course, stated that the cartels are a terror organization. We had Canada following up, also designating the cartels as a terror organization. And when you designate the cartel as a terror organization, that means that we can actively go into Mexico without Mexico's permission, and we can use whatever force necessary to eliminate them. That is the power of designating them as a terror organization. And that is absolutely going to happen. Oh, there's Colonel Joe Adams chiming in on the comment line right now. And it's the same thing we did in Vietnam early on. And, Colonel Adams, I hope tomorrow when you join us that you talk about that, because I don't know that my uncle served in Vietnam. I don't know a lot about Vietnam or how it started or how that all came to be about, the real reason. I know what a lot of the history lessons tell us. I don't know what really happened behind the scenes. And Dottie says, let's go to Mexico and train the cartel. Well, we've trained them. So it's not, at one point in our country's history, we sent our special forces in to train the cartels. Now we're going to send them in to fight. I mean, that's the irony, isn't it, of being an American. Jay says corruption in Mexico is rampant on every level of the government. Yes, it is, Jay, and that's why this is never going to work out. The cartels control the government. The cartels control the police forces. There are sometimes there's a lot of good police officers in Mexico. There's a lot of good government officials in Mexico, and they don't live long. And that's unfortunate. I've seen so many assassination videos. It's insane, absolutely insane. And not that things are all that different here or in the United States as well. Lori says these young people that Musk has insisted, have not been indoctrinated to a certain side. They think for themselves and are not swayed. And that could be the case, Lori. Elon Musk has a good following of people that are not Republicans and not Democrats, just like a lot of us, kind of down the middle of the line. But these are young people, and they maybe not quite as swayed. Good morning, Stacy. Good morning, Joe Fry, the guitar guy. So that's something to think about. What's that going to look like for us? We're making leaps and bounds. As a matter of fact, we were going to touch base really quick on Hamas. Donald Trump, of course, issued that order against Hamas to release all of the hostages. If you don't release all the hostages, Israeli hostages, by Saturday at noon, all hell's going to, break loose, or you're going to have hell to pay. I can't remember his terms exactly. Well, what exactly happened? Because they didn't release all the hostages. We don't even know if the hostages are still alive. Now, quite honestly, Israel seems pretty happy with the arrangement that they're at least getting their hostages back, some of them, a little at a time. But we always said that Hamas is not going to release all those hostages. They're not going to do it. And they're not going to do it because then all their leverage is gone. So what happens next? From Israel, when the hostages weren't released, they went into Lebanon and they killed Hamas's top leader. So that has happened. And Hamas, I'm sure, I don't know, I'm starting to kind of think that the top leader of these different organizations, they know eventually they're going to lose their lives. It always happens. And we just carried out an airstrike yesterday that took out of one of Al-Qaeda's top leaders over in Syria. This is something we do pretty often. Obama did it. We do it. I almost called him Biden. I don't think Biden did a darn thing in his administration, but that's just what we do. And I'll tell you, and already, that every time we take out the top leader of any organization, there's another one waiting in the wings who's usually more brutal than the first one. And we know that happens. So when I hear that this top leader was taken out of Hamas or this top leader was taken out from Al-Qaeda, I just kind of shrug it off like, okay, well, who's the next guy? Who's up next? Because there is somebody up next, and that person is usually more brutal than the other one. Colonel Adams says the Russian mafia is now located in Mexico City. I did not know that, Colonel Adams. We'll have to talk about that tomorrow. I did not know that, and I hadn't even heard that. So that's very, very interesting to know. But I'll tell you what, things are changing, and they're going to continue to change, and we're going to see a lot of different things happening. And we're just going to have to hold on, keep it steady, and see how things play out. And they are playing out, very quickly, in fact. And, we have a lot going on between Donald Trump, of course, trying to create peace in Ukraine. We're talking to Russia. We're working deals with Mexico. We've got Lindsey Graham trying to start a war in Iran. We're still dealing with the aftermath of Assad, leaving Syria. We're still dealing with the Taliban, over in Afghanistan. We've got this new situation in Sudan that we're dealing with. We've got a lot going on as a country. We've not made any friends. We've made a lot of enemies over the years, and we're going to continue to make enemies. Europe is probably going to rise up as our largest enemy. I'm waiting for that to happen. Right now, they need us, but there will be a point when they realize that Donald Trump is not going to be the same as a Democrat regime leader, and they're going to realize that we're not playing their games anymore, and they're going to become probably one of our bigger adversaries. And then we're either going to stand alone, or we're going to move over towards, Russia, China, and I'm not saying join BRICS, but move over more in that direction. And, we might talk hopefully to Colonel Joe Adams about that tomorrow also. But I'll tell you, we've got some things to work out, here in our own country. And, Trump hasn't really talked too much about fighting crime here in the United States, but it's something that we really have to deal with. And, I've got a video here I want to show you. This is how crazy things are. This is California. I've only got a few minutes left, and then I'm going to rush out because I have a work call at 9 a.m. So I can't take too much time today and run over like I usually do. And so I'm going to show this video to you really quick. And this is straight out of Compton, just like the movie. This is an individual that comes up to a police officer of a vehicle, a police cruiser, and fires several shots at it, just right out in the open. You can see for yourself.
Sorry. Don't put the light on me. Oh shit. Hey. Oh shit. Hey.
Isn't that insane? But you know what? Lucky for us, we have our savior. You know what? It might start in
Good morning.
Just remember, California.
Chad
We're gonna
Bianco,
talk about this
Riverside
after
County Sheriff. We are here today because California public safety is in crisis. Crime is steadily on the rise, and our public safety policy is one of the worst, if not the worst, in the nation. I want to make this clear, and I want there to be no mistake in what I am saying. This is not by accident. The driving force in our crisis is a radical, progressive agenda fraudulently called criminal justice reform. This is nothing short of a sick and twisted social experiment where law enforcement is the bad guy and criminals are somehow victims of society and not responsible for their actions, their crimes, or accountable to their countless victims. This agenda began with a passage of AB 109, the so-called Public Safety Realignment Act. State government failed to take responsibility for prison overcrowding or their failure to build more prisons, and instead forced county jails to house state inmates while simultaneously releasing thousands of felons early. This has pushed our county jails to a near collapse and caused the early release of countless criminals. Thousands upon thousands of criminals are being released from custody early, crime is increasing, and our governor is closing prisons instead of building new ones.
Now, of course, you can watch that whole video at another time. That is Chad Bianco. He is the sheriff of Riverside County, California, and he is going to be running as governor against Gavin Newsom. I think he has a great chance of winning. Just remember that Donald Trump, what was it like he only lost California, was it 4%, 11%? I can't remember. It was right in that range. It was by a very small margin. People in California, they're tired of crime, just like we across the nation. We're tired of crime, and we have got to replace these crazy liberal governors. It is the only way. If you want to live in peace in your state, you want to fight crime, you have to work on replacing your liberal governor. You know, Illinois with Pritzker, same situation. It's got to happen. And, you know, it's a really crazy situation that we're living in when criminals are bold enough to walk out into the open at close range and fire upon a police vehicle. That is the world we're living in right now. And I hope that Chad Bianco wins there in Riverside County. I hope he wins against Governor, if I can say that word, I keep calling him Governor, Governor Gavin Newsom. I hope he wins. And then I hope that this movement spreads all across the country. Let's get rid of these liberal governors so we can finally move on and fight crime instead of promoting crime, instead of promoting the criminal element, instead of supporting the criminals. Let's actually fight crime. How about that? Now, we know eventually, of course, Donald Trump is going to tackle crime, violent crime, because he did it in the past. But right now, we're concentrating on foreign policy. We're concentrating on fraud. We're trying to save Americans trillions, quadrillions of dollars, according to Elon Musk. We're going to find our gold. Soros is on the run. Viktor Orban, of course, Hungary's prime minister, said that George Soros and 63 of his comrades have relocated to Brussels because they are scared that Donald Trump is going to arrest them. I thought that was pretty interesting. Either way, I've got about 2 minutes before my phone call, which is very important, so I got to make a run for it. So much to talk about tomorrow. We'll have Colonel Joe Adams joining us tomorrow with the Washington Guard. Tomorrow, we're a lot more to jump into. We're going to talk tomorrow a lot more about the situation, sending special forces into Mexico, how that problem is going to escalate, the Mexican government will never be able to take care of the cartels. We already know that. They haven't done it yet. They're not going to do it. But we have to at least show publicly that we gave them an option before we have to do it ourselves. So what that's going to look like, man, I think all of us can probably imagine. So we'll talk to the Colonel Joe Adams about that tomorrow. Lots of other things, because every day there's so many new items in the news cycle. But that's it for me. I'm Tabitha with Tabs on Tap. I hope you guys have a really great day. Stay warm. Very cold and snowy out there today. And oh, by the way, wind chills minus 30 degrees in some parts of Missouri right now, minus 60 degrees, I've heard, in some parts of North Dakota and up north a little bit. So stay warm out there. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a really great